Kathy still online? Go ahead and close that up or save it or something. You can minimize her now. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear us now, Kathy?
I think it might be Tiffany. Oh, jeez. Hmm. Hmm? Yeah.
Internet connection.
I haven't seen him in
He's in Buffalo.
weeks. Yeah, that's what I hear. He hasn't even been coming out. So.
I really like him. That's too bad. We're losing some good people as well.
Hold on once it actually warms up. Is that color? Again, green, it's live. So it's live right now, so if you want to mute it. Be careful, you guys are right under a state.
I'm going to start this off.
Then just have them bring that one. Just have them hustle. 75.
Hey, Susan. Hi, Leslie. Well, thank you all for coming. If I could have your attention, please. It's 9 o'clock. We'd like to get started on time. Nice crowd. Keith has his cookies here. That's just what you need in the morning. I know you guys all have like to eat cookies in the morning, right? Not me, but anyway. So the purpose of this meeting is to continue to get feedback on the academic organizational structure. In a few minutes, I'll turn this over to Bill Law, who will walk you through a few slides. The idea here is to have just a very short introductory comments and then open it up to your questions and comments and issues. And we'll take all these very seriously. And we have taken all this very seriously. This process has gone on for quite a while. This first went through the Senates on both campuses. We had 2 documents. And then we went to the senior leadership team. We talked about this at lots of different meetings. I don't really remember how many. And then we turned it over to the deans to look at it for a while. The deans have been talking about it, coming up with some ideas. Probably, if you're a faculty member, you've probably been in a meeting where this has been discussed. If you're on staff, maybe, maybe not. In a way, I sort of feel a little bit of deja vu on this because when I first came here to PNC, and those of you who've been here the whole time, like Tom Brady and Martha, who helped on some of this, remember that we basically had sections. We didn't even have departments. We didn't have deans. We didn't have colleges. So we went through a similar process in the around the 2005 era, and we changed over to deans, and the same kind of questions came up. And there was a lot of uncertainty, but that seemed to have worked out pretty well. And so I'm pretty encouraged by the way this looks. I think after you look at what has been proposed and accomplished so far, I think you'll feel the same way. And I hope that anybody who has any questions, whether you're faculty, staff, whatever, bring up the questions. And we have Debbie here. She can help us take some notes on any key questions. And also, if you really like this meeting and want to do another one, there's one tomorrow afternoon on the Purdue Cal campus tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. And so you'd be welcome to come there. If you have any colleagues who are on this campus that couldn't make it today and would like to come tomorrow, I'm going to be there again tomorrow, and so will Chancellor Keon. So you all know Chancellor Keon. He's in the back there. He'll help us answer questions. And I'm going to turn it over now to Bill Law, who's going to just go through some of the slides here, and then we'll open it up to questions like I promised. Bill.
Thank you, Chancellor. Hi, everybody. Good morning. We have 3 slides. We'll keep it real short. Thank you. The first slide simply shows where we are, and that's the current structure on the 2 campuses. We have 11 colleges and 29 departments in 1 school, if we look at it as a composite. And what's being proposed is that we move to a model of 6 colleges, which includes the Honors College. That would be 6 colleges, 16 departments, and 3 schools. This gives you an idea if we looked at the current structure from a little more broken out standpoint, taking into account departments. I'm not going to go through every one of them. There are a lot of things in here that are non-departmental, and that's how we operate on both sites, and that will continue. But there are some specific departments as well, many of which overlap, many of which had real differences in terms of which disciplines were represented. And so some of the challenge was taking the input from the Senates, from the faculty, and as deans sitting down and thinking about operationally how would these best work. And then through the summer especially going back to a number of faculty groups and saying, does this make sense? How do we need to rearrange these? Or if we had questions, just getting a lot of input there. And this is what we ended up with. All right, we have 6 colleges, a number of departments, the largest one, not surprisingly, being what is being called the College of Humanities, Education, and Social Sciences, okay, with 1 school, the School of Education and Counseling. Honors College, College of Technology, College of Business with the White School embedded in it, College of Nursing, and the College of Engineering and Sciences with a School of Engineering embedded in it. It's really all there is to it at this point. I would suggest that both chancellors join me and we answer questions.
I told you to keep that brief. How's that? Bill's good at that.
I'm nothing if not brief.
So the idea would be to get your feedback here today, get some feedback tomorrow, and then hopefully to send something like this forward to the president and the board of trustees. And so we'd like to get their approval on this general structure. And then all the other stuff like filling in who's going to be the deans and things like that would then be something that would take place later. Okay? You want to sit down or you want to stand up? Whatever you want to do.
The light's right in our eyes.
Oh, well, maybe
we
we'll
could move the chairs over and just stand.
Can you can fix the lights back there? Okay, so
That's the projector.
okay, so we're now going to be open for questions or comments. Any issues, Martha?
I see so difficult to digest that the College of the Technology and the College of the Engineering, they are apart. It's like we are very common. We have so many things in common. We share labs, we share many even classes, and it's hard to digest that. Right now we have engineering in one area and then technology in another one. I don't know what could be the real reason to have those schools completely separated.
Well, if you want me to start, point number one, anytime things have been organized along one line for a long time and it gets changed, that causes angst. I mean, I would feel the same way as you. Number two, I would say that this was based on lots of discussion, and people try to come with the best approach. As you know, and Tom knows well, that in West Lafayette, engineering and technology are separated, two different colleges. And I think that this was the product of a lot of hard work and thought, and yet anytime a change like this comes along, it's sometimes hard to digest exactly what's going on, like you said. But I think that if we give this some chance and let it go for some time period, it'll work quite well. That would be my thought. Maybe Bill has something he wants to say about the thoughts on that, or.
Well, there was actually quite a bit of discussion about that particular issue, and to a large degree, we sought a lot of input from the faculty on this, and recognizing that we can't make structures that are going to please every individual all the time, we went with the largest number of people that would provide us with input and guidance on this. And so this was something that so far looks like it meets with the satisfaction of the majority of folks that are involved in that process. I would say that regardless of where a discipline or faculty are housed, I think we can always continue to encourage each other and to participate in collaborative efforts, regardless of these, in a sense, somewhat artificial barriers or walls that seem to exist sometimes when we think of ourselves as just a department. And I think there's a lot of faculty on both campuses, not just between engineering and technology, but also between many of the other disciplines that have reached out to each other and worked very collaboratively. And I think that's the nature of being a university.
What I would add was that I think a lot of people rationally believe what you said is true, that technology and engineering are very similar. They've been together on this campus. There are people who think they should be together. But we did promise that this would be a faculty-driven process, and the faculty felt very strongly to keep them separated.
Question.
When do you anticipate the basically the administrative structure being in place in terms of the decisions being made on who will be key administrative people within the different departments?
Yes, good question. Well, the first thing that's going on, it started today, is we have the search for the chancellor of PNW. So that'll be a big factor. I think a lot of the answer to that will be after we have the new chancellor in place, and probably a lot of that will take place as well. But certainly, I think the intention is that we have a lot of good people already in place, and so a lot of those people some of those people that are going to get those positions may already be on one or both campuses. I can think of several situations where we'll probably need to do a search, national search, and so that would spread it out longer. But that would be my best guess. What do you think? That pretty accurate?
I think that's terribly accurate.
Okay.
But, one might expect that come next March or April, that many of those decisions would be made and people would be in place. I think an important thing, I mentioned this the other day in another meeting I was at, is that as we're bringing our student data into one platform of Banner, it's important to have identified the structure and the degree programs that fall into each of the departments. So, programmers are going to start working on this almost immediately as if it's in place. So there's a lot of pieces related to why it's important to get this defined that go beyond just simply, putting people in place and defining where people will be.
That answer your question? Thank you. Good question. I'm sure when the site visit team comes in November, they'll be asking the same thing, but we'll be like 3 months down the line there, so probably we'll be able to have a little better answer by then.
Hi, how you doing? At Purdue County Med in Hammond, we taught philosophy in the English department. We had the Department of English and Philosophy, and I noticed in this new structure, philosophy has been placed with history. I suspect it just makes better budgetary sense to have this philosophy with the history department because of the joint budget. But I was wondering if Dr. Rowan or some of the other philosophy professors had an academic reason for displacing philosophy from English and placing it with history.
I was not part of those discussions, but my guess would really have to do with span of control. The English department by itself is enormous in terms of the number of faculty, and history is smaller, and so and philosophy is very large on the Calumet campus. So I think if I were to guess, they were probably trying to get groups together of like kind that wanted to be together that equalized the size of the departments. Yeah, I don't know if it's budgetary as much as it is having one department head that takes care of 75 people instead of 100. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Janusz. I think you need the microphone, Janusz, if you don't mind.
The decision to put history and philosophy together, I think, also came from one of the retreats. Mm-hmm. And so it's not just the heads of the departments, but the faculty who were discussing the issues.
Yeah, good point.
There was a general consensus that would work. It's not unprecedented. It certainly is the case at PNC that history and philosophy are together, but of course we're together with a lot of others. But it's also faculty driven.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Good point. Who else has a burning question? Janusz. Just let him keep the microphone.
Sorry, going beyond this, there was a discussion of having deans and associate deans, and then for the departments, having department heads and then coordinators. And how is all that going to be worked out, or is that beyond the scope of today's meeting?
I would say that that's beyond the scope of today's meeting. Today's meeting was to ensure that we would have an academic structure in place with properly named colleges and schools, and departments. For the Board of Trustees, the only part of our structure that has to be approved by them is the academic structure, and they also have to approve the exact name of each of the divisions within the academic structure. So it was the hope that as time went on over the next 6 or 9 months, that working with faculty, there would be a better sense for what kinds of needs would be in place in order to have an understanding of the true structure of administrators within college. Now that said, I do think some of the colleges have discussed that, and the faculty have talked about it and have made maybe more progress than others.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I guess I would also say, Giannis, that in the future, as we get into those topics, there'll be more discussions and much more opportunity for faculty input. But the slide that you have up there now, the proposed academic structure, the draft of 828, that's pretty much what we would present to President Daniels and the trustees. That's basically the level they have to approve it. And after that, we take off and work on the other things.
I would offer, as these discussions do go forward and faculty are going to be involved in those conversations, I wouldn't anticipate a cookie cutter approach, that being that every college has to have this, that, and the other, and that every department function the same way, much as it is now on both sites. There are going to be variations in terms of how the programs are administered, depending upon a lot of variables, not just majors and size of student credit hour delivery, number of faculty, but also things like accreditation issues. And so each of them are probably going to have some uniqueness in that regard with respect to how the administration of that college is set up.
This is looking at the future after an academic structure like this may be put into place after we do have the unification between the two campuses. But I note that at Purdue Calumet and Hammond, the nursing program is expanded to the point where there are opportunities for doctoral study at the Hammond campus. Might we see in the future more opportunities for doctoral study here in Northwest Indiana after this academic structure is put into place?
My guess is that that could evolve with time. I would say that right now our trustees and many people in the state are concerned with how many programs are offered throughout the state. They're also concerned with how many universities you could have that are Research One universities. That said, and I know that this is kind of a thin line, but there's always this question about applied doctoral programs versus research doctoral programs. And I know that IPFW is interested in possibly some applied doctoral programs beyond the DNP. I'm not sure myself whether we have the demand for that right now. But I would say that research doctoral programs would be years and years off. Years, decades. But applied might come earlier.
Yeah, I think research doctorates are pretty much off the table, like a PhD in business or whatever. That for the regional campuses, if that happens, it will be many, many years from now. But I think other of these practice doctorates could be possible, and the DNP, eventually will be available for people on this campus as well as in Fort Wayne and also at Calumet campus.
Hi, I have two questions. At PNC currently, there is an organizational leadership and supervision degree within the College of Business, and I see that there's organizational leadership in the College of Technology in the new structure. Will there be 2 leadership degrees, one in the College of Business and one in the College of Technology?
Cindy?
Well, let Cindy get the microphone.
Good question. Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We have actually had several conversations about that very question. And when you look at the 2 degrees that are on there, right now one's called Organizational Leadership and Supervision at Purdue County Met, and one's called Organizational Leadership and Supervision at PNC. They're vastly different with respect to what the curriculum looks like. They're accredited by different accreditation bodies as well. One's through ABET, one's through our ACBSP, which is business. So what we decided to do is kind of split the difference. So Purdue Cal will keep the moniker OLS, Organizational Leadership and Supervision, and what we are planning on doing is calling them BSN Leadership. We're going to change the courses. The courses actually really don't overlap that much right now. We have a business core in ours, they have a technology core, so they're really 2 separate degrees. How's that for a short answer?
That's good.
Yes.
And you had a second question?
That's good. Yes, thank you.
This for Cindy too? She should stand up?
Oh, nope, this one's totally separate. Liberal Studies is a degree at PNC currently. Where would that fall within the College of Humanities?
Is that in your chart?
I'm actually trying to get the deans right now to specify which degrees go where, keeping in mind that there are some degrees that are actually college-wide. So I can't answer that question yet. In a couple days, I should be able to. I don't know if we have anybody, is Rex here? Or?
One of the things that I could tell you about this is that on the Calumet campus, 2 years ago, the liberal studies degree was changed to an interdisciplinary studies program. And the BA in interdisciplinary studies would be in the College of Humanities Education, and the BS interdisciplinary studies in engineering and sciences. So that's how we currently have that set up. What will happen, because it has to be defined by the faculty anyway, is that the faculty of those 2 colleges will decide how they would like it to look.
So, to be determined. Good question, though. Do you have a third question? No? Okay, Janusz has the third question.
Something about the BOS. The BOS historically has been in the social sciences department at Purdue North Central. That department developed it and has administered it solely. And so as the department is being fragmented now into new departments, it almost seemed logical for the BOS to go with history and philosophy, because those are the people who've taught the courses that are essential to the BOS. And that's something that we're advocating. On another topic, it seems theoretically possible that the BOS and the multidisciplinary degree at County Met could be merged, but the initial response that I got was no, they're too different, and I don't know exactly what that refers to, but I think in the end they might be merged. So 2 points. One is that this was a social sciences degree, and it would be logical for it to continue in the philosophy department. And secondly, I think in the future, the 2 degrees at the 2 campuses could be merged.
I'd like to just make just a brief comment on that. So when we only had 6 baccalaureate degrees here, that BLS degree was very, very popular and used for like everything. You know, people wanted to have a degree in accounting or concentration in accounting or engineering, whatever. And so I really thought over time that as we got more and more degrees up to 24, that BLS would not be as popular. But BLS is still quite popular. It's been has legs of its own, and I've been really impressed with that. And I hear what you say about where it should go and the route. So I think it's important for us to have a liberal studies degree.
You know, in terms of the merger, we actually had a BA in liberal studies. And the Commission of Higher Education contacted us because we weren't using it very much, to ask if we wanted to keep it. And we asked simply if we could just change the name to interdisciplinary studies based on the fact that liberal studies was used more frequently historically, but going forward, more people were using interdisciplinary studies. We then asked whether we could have it as a BS, and they said yes, absolutely. If you have it as a BA, you can have it as a BS. Now, the logic that was used by our faculty was to put those two programs at the dean level so that people could use any set of programs to be interdisciplinary without it giving the appearance that it had to be within one or two departments. But that'll be determined by your college sometime over the next year.
Who's next, if anybody? Oops. Yes, way in the back. Professor Dan.
I have a question about here at PNC we have this big program, Vibrant Interdisciplinary Health Studies degree. Originated in the Department of Nursing, but my understanding is it's not wanted in the New College of Nursing. So where does health studies come from?
Well, I'm going to ask actually Chris to address that a little bit, because that's actually more of a PNC currently degree.
Certainly. The health studies degree was developed by the nursing program and was placed in the nursing department. There are a number of reasons for that move. It is currently a College of Science degree, and the original proposal coming out of the faculty, at least on the North Central campus, was for the development not of a College of Nursing, but Health and Human Services, which would have incorporated things like social work, possibly School of Education. We felt as we've moved forward that is sort of a big jump at this time. That would be a big rearrangement of programs at this time. And so the decision was made to move forward with a College of Nursing that had the 5 different nursing programs in it. As a consequence, the other programs for the time being have been left in the parent college. That does not mean in the future they will be left in the parent college. But for right now, it seems that the College of Engineering and Sciences is the unit best prepared to continually support that program moving forward. And I would ask you to look at sort of a nationwide where you see health studies or health sciences program, and frequently they're not administered just by sole nursing programs. So I would say for the time being, that is the unit that is best prepared to support that program and allow it to grow. In the future, the university may consider Health and Human Services and do a small rearrangement again, or a larger rearrangement.
You know, it's a good question and a really nice answer. I appreciate that. When we first did this, we had so much interest in nursing in this campus, but a lot of people weren't quite cut out to be nurses, but they really wanted to be in the healthcare field. And you see the burgeoning employment in the healthcare field all over the nation, all these big mergers going on. So there's a lot of interest in the healthcare field. So that's how we got into this in the first place. And it's actually taken off quite well. And the exact placement in the future, you know, things could change over time. But I think we're going to continue to see quite a bit of interest in people in health studies, not only the ones that transfer over from nursing, but the ones that go right into it right away because they know they want to work in the healthcare field.
I would add that, as in the case of any of the degrees, much of this will be decided by the faculty.
Yep.
And you know, Chris and I have had conversations about ensuring, because of the connection with nursing, that nursing faculty have input into that process as well, regardless of where the degree is housed.
Well, I'm not going to have you sit here when we can be productive doing other things. I will see if there's, I'll give one more call, see if there are any questions, but if not, anything you want to say in closing, Bill? Oh, good. Please do. Leslie.
This is a little bit off topic because it's not academic related, but I was wondering There are a lot of us here who are staff, and wondered when final decisions about the structure on that side will be decided in terms of institutional advancement or development, or the way that we're structured here at North Central, and looking at how that will work together with the Calumet campus.
Mm-hmm. Well, point number one, good question, Leslie. Point number one is that doesn't have to be approved by the Board of Trustees, so we can in many of these areas like administration and in academic affairs, we've had some discussions at the senior leadership level. We've made some decisions. Some of the areas we haven't made decisions yet, so it'll be forthcoming. I don't know exactly when, but I would say that all of that will certainly be in place probably by the time of unification, if not hopefully by the time we have the approval would become PNW. Maybe Tom wants to add something to that.
Well, the only thing I would say is that we've been trying to get units to start working together, and some of the units that you've talked about are working pretty closely together, development and communications, marketing. That will evolve into a single structure at some point in time. There are some other staff areas like advising that we have to do quite a bit of work on, because we're changing a little bit of the structure in the way that students are admitted to the university, and that will have an impact on advisors, and it would be nice if we were working with the advisors all at one time. We'll have some additional training along those same lines. So it'll evolve, and my expectation again is by next March or April we should have many of these pieces laid out specifically.
Anything else anybody wants to say? Anything? Well, I want to thank you all for coming out here and for your questions, for listening to us. We'll have another one of these sessions tomorrow at Purdue Calumet, and then we'll move forward, and hopefully by the trustees meeting in October we can have this academic structure set up, and then we'll move forward from there. But there's a lot of exciting developments to come, so stay tuned. Okay? Thank you all very much for coming out.
Thank you.
Do you think I should do it?